My name is Cameron McKay. I'm a Microsoft Virtualization MVP, the president of the KIPS Toronto user group, and also a healthcare IT professional. So when planning a virtualization project, it's a multifaceted, multi-step process. Basically, you're taking a look at the environment, which usually starts off with taking account of all the applications. You're taking a look at all the applications you have for application virtualization, for server virtualization. Again, you want to take a look at all the workloads. Your traditional server only runs at 10% capacity CPU usage. So, on one virtualization host server, you can actually get close to 20 or 30 virtual machines workloads consolidated per the machine. So it's taking a look at what equipment you have to buy, what equipment you can migrate, how many applications you have to move over, and it all comes down to how many workloads can you consolidate. Now, several of the projects I've been involved in, we've gone from maybe 5 to 1 for a virtualization ratio. One of my newest projects, my latest project, is actually one where we took 40 servers and put it on one host server. One of the greatest things about going through this whole process of deploying virtualization is looking at all your applications and finding out which ones you can get rid of, which ones you can keep, and consolidate, basically. I have one project I was consulted on. It had 10,000 individual applications across the enterprise. And you just take a look at that, the readouts from the reports, and it's like, wow, how do you consolidate this? Where do you start with 10,000 individual applications? And I think once they got down to it, they only picked about half of that to continue going with it. Once you've done the planning, and once you've figured out what applications you're going to virtualize and what workloads you're going to consolidate, you really need to take a look at your environment. And you need to determine your virtualization ratio. So are you going to go from 20 servers down to 4? Obviously, cost is the biggest factor there. So trying to determine whether you want to spend $50,000 on the server or even $10,000. We're looking at the metrics for virtualization, basically making that business case. You're going to take a look at cost, is one of the biggest ones. Now, what you're going to spend up front, you can either repurpose equipment or you can go out and buy new equipment. Obviously, it's more expensive to buy than it is to repurpose. However, with some of the virtualization products out there, you really need to have a specific type of hardware. So usually we recommend that you go out and buy a new host server. Energy savings, again. So what you're spending in new hardware, you're probably going to end up saving in power and cooling in your data center. Is obviously a good way to offset that cost. Taking a look at workload consolidation. So, the virtualization servers I work with day to day generally run at 90 to 95% utilization, versus prior to us doing virtualization, we actually had anywhere from 5 to 10%. So if you're looking at metrics, cost is one, power and cooling savings is another one. So cost savings and workload. One of the key measures of success in the project is really that, one, the end users don't notice anything, and that's really what you have to sell the business on, is that you can do all this work, you can virtualize servers and deploy it, and the end user is not going to notice absolutely any difference, except for the fact that maybe their applications now run a lot faster, and that their email goes a bit faster, because let's say you're going from an email server on a Pentium 3, Pentium 4 box. When you virtualize it, you can scale up, so you can give it a quad core, 28 gigs of memory. So all of a sudden, the application that was nice and slow is now, wow, what have you done? Is it brand new? I mean, people really get excited about that type of stuff. But executive support is absolutely critical to the process of deploying virtualization. You have to have the business involved every step of the way. You need to make sure that they realize not only the cost benefits, but the business benefits. So again, making the applications go faster, it's a productivity increase. You're mitigating a lot of risks when you deploy virtualization to the business. Suddenly applications where you have one server, and if that mail server went down, you were in trouble. You had to rebuild it, you had to go do your backups. Now with virtualization, you can maintain copies of that entire mail server. So you have that bare metal backup and restore technology available to you now. The assessment tool is, it's a great tool. Number one, it's free. And two, you can actually go ahead and tailor the answers to your specific environment. So, once you go through and answer the 50 or so questions, it's going to give you the information you need to develop a business case. It's not going to give you the business case, but it's definitely going to tell you, here's the points you need to drive home with the business. And, right at the very top, as soon as you complete it, it's going to say, you are a good fit for virtualization. That alone tells you whether or not you should devote some time to planning and moving forward with your project.